Good afternoon, everyone. The Select Board's call to order April 23rd at 6 p.m. I'm going to take a roll call to see who's here. Sheila?
I'm here.
Ed?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Pat?
Here.
And I'm here. Okay. Dave, you have something you wanted to say?
And just to clarify, people should find that ellipsis under the participants button. And at the bottom of participants, there are the three dots. And that's where you can raise your hand.
Are we all set? Oh, okie doke. Okay, this is a virtual Board of Selectmen's meeting. We are using the Zoom conference format. The agenda on the town's website has the information needed for public to participate by Zoom conferencing format or by the telephone. If you wish to participate through Zoom, you can join Zoom meeting. The meeting ID number is 971-6175-1069. During the meeting, only the selectman and the town manager will be on the screen with audio connected. All the other participants will be blacked out and audio muted except when the board solicits public input. I ask that the public take turns when talking. When talking allows others an opportunity to talk once. You have made your point and identify yourself when talking. So item number 2, approve the April 2nd, the 6th, the 9th, and the 10th meeting minutes. We can do this with just one vote. We don't have to take these separately.
Second.
Sheila moved the question. Ed seconded it. Okay, Sheila?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And Alan says aye. 5-0 motion carries. Item number 3, approve street opening permit to Lord and Harrington, Langsford Road sidewalk only for new water service and underground power. Mike, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, they're just, all we're doing is adding some underground power there. We are looking at some sidewalk overlay. So they've got to get through the sidewalk to do that. And they will overlay pretty much the entire sidewalk in front of the residence or the entrance there, all the way to the property line, all the way to the property line next driveway.
That's been done before, correct?
Yeah.
That was done previous. Okay. Oh.
Similar to what happened down at the end by at the other end.
Where is this, Mike? There wasn't an address on my copy.
I was at 15. So it's
the old Senate House?
Yes.
Okay.
So they've got to do they're doing all that work. They're going to redo the whole sidewalk in front.
Oh, good. It needs it. So I'm going to take a vote on this. Roll call. What?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Sheila?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Alan says aye. 5-0 motion carries. Okay, item 4, consider owner installation of rope fence in right-of-way at 75 Turbot's Creek Road.
So once again, there's a new house that was done right down at the corner on the right at the very bottom of Turbot's Creek Road. What we're looking at there is there were a couple old fence posts in the right-of-way there that were taken out during construction, and they wanted to put those back. They're in line with, pretty much in line with the utility poles. And they just want them there to, it is a no parking zone and it's posted no parking. But what they wanted to do was put a couple wood timbers back in the ground and run rope lines between the timber, similar to what Shackford and Gooch at the Clam Shack has on the other side of the bridge. That type of rope railing.
Whose right of way is that?
That is in the town right away.
It's in the town right of way. So by them putting up a rope, they're preventing anybody from going down there.
No, it's into their property. This is
It's on their
parallel to the road. It's on their property, parallel to the road, not going towards the ocean.
Okay, I see. Okay. I wasn't sure.
No, this is on the right-hand side of the road going down, just past the sewer pump station.
Okay.
And it sounds like their intent for this is to keep people from parking, even though there is no parking there.
And also, their driveway is sort of right there, coming off the little private road, and it's readily accessible if you don't have a barrier. Somebody could just drive right onto their property take a right off of Turbot's Creek Road, and instead of going on the private road, they could cut through their property. And I think they're trying to avoid that.
Okay.
So I guess we're looking for a motion.
I'll motion, consider, to install a rope fence in the right of way at 75 Turbot's Creek.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, second. We have
And,
first.
and can we just confirm, Mike, they are going to register this in the deed office?
Yes, and we have the right to ask them to remove it with the agreement.
Okay.
What are you going to do? Like give them 30 days to remove it? Is that how you do that?
If you tell me to remove it, we will remove it. I think we have the right to. I think the way it's written is that we can tell them to remove it, and if they don't, we could go in and just take it out.
Okay.
On your order, on the order of the selectmen.
Okay. All right. So I have a first and a second. Sheila,
Aye.
Ed,
Opposed.
opposed. Ed opposed. Okay. Pat,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye. So it's 4-1. The motion carries. Okay. Consider reentry plan for the town's operations. I guess that's up to you, Laurie.
Yep.
So in your packets, you have an outline of discussion points for re-entry plan. And I also emailed you this week some committee assignments. And also in your packet, I included what the White House released last week in regards to their plan, which is titled Opening Up America Again. So the guidelines for opening up America again are a 3-phased approach to be implemented, as it states, on a statewide or county by county basis at the governor's discretion. There are no timelines or dates associated with the phases, but rather they will point back to data points to determine if a new phase is warranted. In order for phases to move forward, that local area must see a downward trajectory of influenza-like illness reported in COVID-like cases within a 14-day period, a downward trajectory of documented cases and positive COVID tests within a 14-day period, and hospitals need to be able to treat all patients without crisis care and have a robust testing program in place for at-risk healthcare workers, including antibody testing. And so as you can see, we are not in a state ready since we are continuing to still see our cases increase, and testing statewide has continued to be a challenge. I think what's important as we look at these 3 phases is individuals are still expected to maintain good hygiene practice and stay home when feeling sick. Employers are expected to maintain standards for physical distancing and provide protective equipment and sanitation and temperature checks. And it's not until phase 3 that vulnerable individuals are no longer guided to shelter in place and are directed to resume public interactions, although they should continue to practice physical distancing and minimize exposure to social settings where distancing may not be practical. So this phased approach is assuming that a vaccine is not available. And so how do we continue to live in a world where COVID is still present? One of the big questions I know that will affect us in Kennebunkport and across the nation is how are we going to handle large venues and events? So the language in the plan states that in phase 1, they can operate under strict physical distancing protocols. In phase 2, they can operate under moderate physical distancing protocols. And in phase 3, they are allowed using limited physical distancing protocols. But there's no definition yet as to what strict, moderate, or limited is. It is also interesting to note that it's not until phase 3 that the plan says bars, schools, and organized youth activities are allowed to open. In terms of guidance from the state has been saying through Governor Mills that they are working on their phase plan. Today at her press conference, she addressed the many questions she's been receiving about reopening Maine. She noted that the measures will be taken with fact and science and in consideration of public health. She did warn everyone that things will not be back to normal soon. The state's plan will include 4 prongs. 1 will be protecting public health. 2 is maintaining healthcare readiness. 3, building widespread availability for reliable testing. And 4, prioritizing public-private partnerships. As she noted, government does not have all the answers. So again, we have this need for testing, which, as we all know, has been limited across the nation. She further explained that Maine CDC is currently developing protocols and guidance as we move forward. The Department of Economic and Community Development was there as well, and they'll be soliciting input from businesses to develop protocols and best practices specific to each business activity. And I believe that they've been reaching out to different business groups already. So when examining whether to open a business, some questions the state will be considering are, can the business be conducted with physical distancing? Does this business activity invite travel within the state? Does it invite travel from outside the state? And will the business activity encourage the congregation of people?
With the connection. Please try again in a moment.
Again, this is a world without a vaccine. She noted that people have been and will need to continue to reinvent ways of doing business. She also said there will be a web portal for businesses, employees, and citizens to offer positive suggestions on all these matters, and they look forward to people's input. She was questioned about whether she will be extending the orders that expire next week, and those orders included quarantining and essential versus non-essential businesses and the commercial lodging industry. She said that she is taking it day by day, looking at the data, and no decision has been made yet. Some of the reporters asked her about Memorial Day and the tourism season and whether we would be open for business. She said that Memorial Day is 5 weeks away and she has not made a decision. She also is working closely with the governors of New Hampshire and Vermont, and that will continue as they look at a planned approach together. And I can say that the coastal Maine managers have been conferencing throughout this time period, and we have recently included the managers on coastal New Hampshire, and they reiterated that the governor there is really controlling the beaches, and they're very concerned about coordinating that with Maine, and also how opening the beaches might draw people from Massachusetts at this point. So what does that tell us? I'd say it tells us that people are trying to form a structure around reentry and examining certainly what the public health conditions are, but also we need to look at this with a broad brush. So what I prepared for you tonight are some categories that I put together along with our town staff. And so I'm going to kind of review them briefly, and then I'll let you guys discuss them. But one is elections and state primary, and also the town meeting. So we've discussed some of that already, what the challenges were around that. And you guys have taken action to move that to July 14th and 18th. And I will be asking you later in the meeting to actually authorize an order that moves that date. We are looking at internal operations, and that includes human resource issues, finance issues, actually operations on a department by department basis, including public spaces, safety measures and physical changes, and how we ramp up and will handle business, what protocols and policies we will need in place. And of course, I have state executive orders, federal orders, and Center for Disease Control, because we work within that realm, and we cannot take actions that are outside of what orders that come from above. We also have been looking at lessons learned through this process, and how we might be better prepared for an emergency in the future, but also just what are things that we might take in that we've learned from operations that would be good on a day-to-day basis. The economy, especially with our summer tourist season, is of a large concern to us. And communication. So making sure that we're alerting the public about all these actions, whether it means how we might ramp up, what rules or protocols might be in place, if we are changing regulations or the way we process items for businesses, how we communicate with visitors, with businesses, with residents, with our employees, and some of our normal communication documents that we've used in the past. Public meetings, we've talked about the Selectmen and Beach Committee we've had meet, and now we've introduced Budget Committee. But I would say next for me up on the docket is Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals. There was a lot of process surrounding Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, but that would be the next phase for them. And then we have public events. So we have Memorial Day Parade. I have been in touch with the American Legion and the town of Kennebunk, and Laura Dulce from the Chamber of Commerce. The American Legion is discussing it. I think there are concerns about the health of those people who participate, you know, especially our veterans in the age group that they are in. And, you know, the ability to have an event where we're having congregate people, it seems a little early for that to happen. The question is for 4th of July fireworks, whether that will be an issue again. Are there other ways that we might look to celebrate these events and still bring people together? We have the Goose Rocks Beach 4th of July race and parade. Again, it's that congregate of people. And as you know, we have a lot of events and races, and both bike and running in town, and we're still getting those applications. And I think that it would be prudent to let people know that we're not in a position to approve those at this point in time until we know more about where we are. And then last is really the state resources that we need to make reentry feasible. So I sent you a list of committee assignments. They include staff as well as the municipal officials on these to move them forward. In terms of Goose Rocks Beach, we have the Beach Advisory Committee, and I've been in communication with the chair of that committee to have them work on a reopening plan, and Sheila and Mike Weston are going to be working with them as well on that. And in terms of the hospitality industry and making sure that we have good measures in place in terms of how they might open, both in retail, hotels, and restaurants, and sanitation standards, all those things that involve their business model. And they are tackling that, and Sheila has agreed to sit with that group as well. I think they're going to be coming forward in a couple of weeks with a plan for you guys to consider as well.
A whole lot. Is there any questions for Laurie?
Not yet.
No,
Lori, not yet.
Not
That's
yet
an
what?
exhaustive list, Lori. I congratulate
know.
you on putting it together.
It is. No questions for her?
Nope.
Sounds to me like you covered everything, Laurie.
Well, can I just, you guys are in agreement with the plan and the committee. And I guess, on public events, I don't know how you're feeling, but do you think that we should be notifying people who've applied that at this point in time, we can't give approval on those events?
Yes, I do.
I believe the same thing. Yes.
Do we, okay, hold on. This is the end of April and we have all of May. I'm assuming that nothing's going to happen in June. But I'm not ready to put a kibosh on July yet.
And I'm not saying that we would tell them they can't have the event. I'm saying that we can't approve them. A lot of these people apply for special event applications. And so we sign off on them and get them back because they're advertising for them, et cetera. And I'm not comfortable in approving any applications.
Okay, I understand.
And we need to see where we're going, Sheila, in the sense that, I've been doing, and I think we all have a lot of reading and a lot of research into this COVID-19, and there's going to be a second round. I don't think that it's a if, it's a when, and it could be as early as the summer. We don't know. So, as Lori suggests, if we just say we're not accepting people at this point, we'll certainly know a lot more in another 4 or 5 weeks.
Agreed. That's exactly what I just said.
That's
I think one of the big concerns from an operational standpoint I have is what we're going to do about summer camp. If you read the phased approach from the White House, it says that youth groups and daycares, et cetera, day camps can't be opened until phase 3. And that seems a little far down the road in my mind. But if we're trying to reopen the economy, I think someone has to care for these kids. And so I think some communities are taking a conservative and safe approach right now, which is, we can't open up for the summer. And I think Carol Cook and I are in a place right now where we're trying to develop plans of how could we work within this new framework as safe as we can. We're not promising anybody one way or the other at this point. But that to me is going to be a real challenge, as well as the election in July. We have a lot of poll workers who are very concerned about their health. And so getting volunteers to do that is going to be challenging.
Will we
Okay.
have guidance whether we can have an absentee or mail ballot only for that election, at least for the Tuesday election?
We have been waiting for that guidance from the state. We were under the belief that something would be coming out this week. Maybe something will be coming out tomorrow, but we haven't heard anything yet.
Because if we can do that, I would suggest that we discuss that. But, given that we don't know, well, here we are. But I don't think having, I'm sorry, Alan, go ahead.
Well, you think that we'd hear something soon, wouldn't you think?
Well, the governor's gonna have to say something because she's got an end of the month, stay at
Right.
home. Yeah,
So I think we ought to hear something
I think-
fairly soon,
yeah.
within the next week
I
or
think
two.
the next week, the governor's gotta come out with something.
Yeah.
I think she's just, today I listened to her today and it sounded like she was sort of on hold until next week to see what's gonna happen, what's going on.
So there were 30 more coronavirus cases yesterday and 5 deaths. Is that correct?
5 more deaths today,
Yeah, that's
the highest number of deaths in
Yeah.
one day, yeah.
But
that's
didn't they also say that this had to do with another of the homes? Old, you know,
All veterans.
They're all
veterans homes, yeah.
sad.
It
Also,
is.
we did receive some public comment, which I emailed to you. I don't know if you want to read that, Alan.
I will if I can find it. I know you gave it to me. I have it.
Okay.
This is from Tracy McGovern. Laurie, thank you for all you've been doing for us regarding the COVID-19 crisis. I've watched online the PSAs and meetings with great interest, and it's extremely reassuring that the town is, in my opinion, making thoughtful and intelligent decisions based on science and balancing that with the economic needs of the town. Though my husband and I legally have our primary residence in Boston, I have been a full-time summer resident at Goose Rocks Beach for many years, and as of Thanksgiving, made the decision to live here year-round for the foreseeable future. Also, my extended family lives in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, so I'm extremely aware of the stress and the heartache of living in a hot spot. Maine has the opportunity to learn from the states who have been so hard hit, and I encourage you to act on the side of caution as we move forward with reentry. In addition to the house I live in, I have 2 rental homes at Goose Rocks Beach, so I also have an economic interest. In the interest of public health and safety, I have already canceled my June renters and coming weeks will be deciding if I need to cancel further into the summer. My reasons for doing so are I cannot guarantee that the renters are not contagious, thereby putting at risk my broker, my cleaner, and my community at large. I cannot guarantee that all the services in the house would be virus-free as we move from one renter to the next. I do not want to expose myself and my family to defending against any litigation from anyone that might believe they were put at risk by deciding to rent our excuse me, by deciding to rent my house. Also, it seems like access to the beach could be potentially would be limited. It may be too early to predict, but I am interested in the committee's thoughts on that. There are some situations that might allow renters, for example, I have a few 3-week renters, and if they drive directly to the rental home with all their supplies and agreed to self-quarantine, that could be okay. If the renter is local, i.e. already in the community, I don't see any issue. Also, I would need spacing between departure of one renter and arrival of the next, preferably a week, so there would be a time for adequate cleaning. These are a few ideas, but I realize they are very personal to me and would be difficult to create a general rule. I look forward to watching the meeting tonight, and again, thanks to you and all of the folks you're working with. Your dedication is greatly appreciated. A very nice letter.
So I did forward that letter also to Richard Driver at Goose Rocks Beach. Although the beach committee's focus is on the beach and the premises there, I thought it was relative to some things they'll be discussing, so I also forwarded it to him.
That was a well-written letter, and thank you very much. Okay, is that all on the subject?
I don't know if there's any public comment, if anyone has raised their hand.
I haven't seen. Okay, we'll keep moving then. Item number 6, accept donation of $1,000 from the South Congregational Church for the Emergency Food Fund.
So
Looking for a
moved.
motion.
Second.
Sheila moves, Ed seconds. Okay, Sheila,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan says aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much to South Congregational Church.
Amen.
Item number 7, other business. Sheila, do you have any other business?
No, I am all set. Thank you.
Ed,
Not tonight, thank you.
Pat,
No, sir, nothing.
Mike,
Oh,
did you say no?
no,
Okay. And I have none. Lori, I know that you have some.
I forwarded you today an order from our attorney, Amy Chow, regarding the postponement of the annual town meeting and election from June to July. Because it deals with an election, she thinks that you should authorize that through a vote, and the order that I have attached. Alan, I don't know if you want to read that order for people.
Sure, I'll read it. Order postponing annual town meeting from June 9th and 13th, 2020 to July 14th and 18th, 2020. The town of Kennebunkport Board of Selectmen hereby finds and orders the following. Whereas on March 31st, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order 28, which directed people to stay at home except for essential business operations and activities in order to reduce the transmission of COVID-19. And whereas on April 10th, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order 39 entitled An Order Modifying the Primary Election to Reduce Exposure to COVID-19, which suspended the requirement under 21-A MRS 339 that the primary election to be held on the second Tuesday in June and directed that the state primary election scheduled to be held on June 9, 2020 be postponed to July 14, 2020 unless changed by subsequent right. Executive order. And whereas section 5 it's been a long day. 5.1 of the administrative code of the town of Kennebunkport requires the town's annual town meeting to convene on the second Tuesday in June for the purpose of electing town officials and for voting on referendum articles and the secret ballot articles. And whereas section 5.1 of the administrative code of the town of Kennebunkport further requires the town's annual town meeting to adjourn to Saturday immediately following the second Tuesday in June for the purpose of considering and adopting the budget and acting upon remaining business. And whereas section D3 of the emergency legislation enacted on March 18th, 2020 as Public Law 2019, Chapter 617 entitled An Act to Implement Provisions Necessary to the Health, Welfare, and the Safety of the Citizens of Maine in Response to COVID-19 Public Health Emergency, allows the municipal officers to postpone the date of a secret ballot election notwithstanding any law or municipal charter provision or ordinance to the contrary during calendar year 2020. And whereas the town believes that it would be in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the voters of the town, as well as town staff and election workers, to postpone the annual town meeting for the same reasons stated by the governor in Executive Order 39. Now, therefore, in accordance with the aforesaid laws, orders, and recitals, which are incorporated herein by reference, it is hereby ordered as follows. 1. The annual town meeting scheduled for June 9, 2020 shall be postponed until Tuesday, July 14th, 2020 for the purpose of electing town officials and for voting on referendum and other secret ballot articles. And 2. Following the aforesaid election on Tuesday, July 14th, 2020, the annual town meeting shall be continued to Saturday, July 18th, 2020, for the purpose of considering and adopting the budget and acting on all remaining articles on the annual town meeting warrant. So, we need a
So
motion.
moved.
Sheila moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mike seconds. Okay, we'll take a vote. Sheila?
Yeah, aye.
Ed?
Well, whereas this is basically going to guarantee my reelection, in the original draft of this, we were going to extend the nomination period. I am in favor, but I am going to abstain from voting because this directly affects me. I
Okay,
don't feel right to vote for it.
And
okay.
just to be clear about the nomination period, Arundel and Kennebunk, neither one of them extended the nomination period. And so we are trying to be in alignment with them since we all share the voting in of the RSU 21 board members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It isn't that I think that's a bad idea. I just think that ethically I should abstain.
Okay, Pat,
I vote aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Alan votes aye. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Thank you. Any other business, Lori?
I have none.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my gosh.
It's early.
Then I move, Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
I second.
I have a first and second. All in favor, oh, excuse me. Ed,
Yes.
Sheila,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Mike.
Can I ask a question first? Did we ask if there were anything from the public at the beginning of the meeting?
We did
Yes,
not
we did.
have public comment on there. But we did ask them under reentry if anyone had raised their hands.
Okay. And
Do you wanna confirm again with everyone on there whether there's?
I
any-
will suspend my motion if you would like public comment.
I just made,
What's that? I couldn't hear. Okay. Mike?
I'm good.
Okay. And Alan says aye. Motion passes. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Alan.
Good night,
Thanks a
Al.
lot.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks,
night.
Lori. Thanks.